Hi, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to be with us this evening. We know your time is really valuable, especially these days, and being that it's pre-Friday, even more so. So let me just go ahead and start presenting my screen. Where is it? Oh, there it is. So many tabs open. All right. So accessible electronic text for students with print disabilities. Before we get too far into it, and I keep forgetting that I can't do it that way when I have my when I'm presenting my screen. I keep forgetting I can't use that key command to advance the slides, so sorry about that. So before we get started, I'll tell you just a little bit about myself. I'm Amy Snow. I'm the Assistive Technology Instructional Specialist at the Wisconsin Center for the Blind and Visually Impaired. So Amy's my name. Assistive Technology for the Blind is kind of my game. It's kind of what I do. I do have a background mostly in tech for the blind and visually impaired, but I do, because as we know, all of our disability areas often intersect. I have a fair amount of experience with other pieces of technology as well, and with accessible materials in particular, just because that's such a hot topic. So if you need this slides presentation electronically, there is a QR code on your screen. And there's also, if one of you ladies would be kind enough to put the link in the chat, that would be amazing if it's not already there.
Yep, I'll do that right now.
Thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So what is a print disability? And everybody asks this question. It's a pretty basic question. And it's one of those that you would think would have a pretty easy answer, but it doesn't. So the Library of Congress regulations provide that blind persons or other persons with print disabilities will include a lot of different types of people. Blind people with a visual acuity as determined to be 20 or 2200 or less in the better eye with correction, and they have a visual field restriction as well. People with a visual disability with correction, regardless of the optical measurement, if they're incapable of reading standard print. Persons that are certified by a competent authority that are unable to use or read standard print by a physical limitation. For example, they can't hold a book or something, to that effect. And also they'd have persons that this last one here is in the way here, certified by a competent authority as having a reading disability resulting from an organic dysfunction. So the Library of Congress has actually expanded its definition a little bit, which is kind of neat. And it's they're taking in people who have that aren't specifically organic disabilities anymore. So the Library of Congress has done a great job of expanding itself, but that's neither here nor there. But this is the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction Policy Bulletin. It's just a link to this policy bulletin about this very topic. And if you need to, you can certainly read that on your own there. So again, we're back to the same slide here. And there's the same legal information, just to have it. So how do you decide, now that we know what a print disability is, how do you decide who qualifies or who has a print disability? Well, we have some materials here. An IEP team has to determine whether a student qualifies as an individual with a print disability based on whether he or she needs materials in an alternate format. And as always, here's some more policies from DPI and some guidance from IEP teams from WCAS. For further reading, there's also some other links here. So what are all these acronyms, which we're special education, so it's alphabet soup, right? So AEM is an accessible instructional or educational material. It's a printer technology material, includes print or electronic texts and related core materials that are designed in such a way as to make them usable across the widest range of student variability. In other words, it's a material that is accessible by the widest range of people possible, regardless of disability. Again, we have the definitions and more information in the links here. Then we have AMPs. An AMP is an accessible media producer. So this is kind of going to get important a little later. We're going to talk about a lot about some specific AMPs that you probably are familiar with, but you probably didn't know they were an AMP. So Learning Ally and Bookshare are probably the most well-known of these AMPs. An authorized user is an agent of a coordinating agency that has access to the NIMAC, and we'll go back to what that is, I promise. An authorized entity is a nonprofit organization or government agency whose primary mission is to provide specialized services to the blind or other persons with disabilities. So you have an authorized user, someone who gets materials from the library. You have your entities that sort of that are nonprofits and kind of oversee that. The NIMAS is a file type, actually, is a technical standard. And I'm saying that first because these are the kinds of files that are stored in the NIMAC, which is the National Instructional Materials Accessibility Center. So the NIMAC is a repository for all of these NIMAS files. The NIMAS files are specifically encoded in such a way as to protect them, because as we know, copyright laws are pretty strict, and we want to make sure that we protect the intellectual property of the authors. You know, the fancy, boring way of saying, hey, we need to be fair to these guys because they sell their materials, and we don't just want anybody on the street to be picking them up for free. These people deserve a right to earn a living, and that's just the way our system works as it stands. So why am I telling you all of these acronyms? Well, the acronyms and definitions are really important information, and they're good background for you to have. But most educators are really more concerned about how do I get the materials that I need for my kids with print disabilities, and how do I do it in the most effective and logical way that I can. So we're going to talk about 3 places that offer resources to access printed materials and classroom resources. And we're going to talk about them in this presentation. 2 of them you're probably more familiar with. The third one, maybe less so, just because it's very specific to the blind and visually impaired and tends to focus more on Braille and larger print. So the 3 that we're going to talk about are Bookshare, Learning Ally, and the American Printing House for the Blind's LUI database. By the way, the LUI database can be used by anybody. It's just, it's just not typically utilized by many folks. I'm going to stop after each one of these sections to kind of make sure that everything is clear to everybody. So before I get going into Bookshare, I'm kind of wondering if there is anything that maybe that there's questions about or concerns to see, like make sure that that earlier alphabet soup part got covered adequately, or if I left anything out. Anything in the chat.
Amy, if I could just add in, on behalf of the Wisconsin AIM Center and DPI, we are working on an AIM decision tree that is in its initial draft form right now, but we're hoping to get that published sooner than later to help guide IEP teams in making the determination for AIM. So just as a resource that hopefully will be coming out, I can't necessarily give an exact guideline, but we are excited to be bringing that document forward to help IEP teams make the decision.
Ooh, I like that. That's awesome.
Yes. So as soon as that's available, we will definitely get the word out.
Oh, excellent.